Callahan here with Callahan's Corner, where you ask the questions, we answer them live here on Facebook. So, questions submitted last week was how to actually go out and fire a bad client. So, welcome back to Callahan's Corner. Had a question submitted last week, how to go out and fire a bad customer. So, Callahan's Corner, where you ask the questions, we answer them live here on Facebook. So, if you have any questions, feel free to set them in on a live or recorded version, and I'm happy to answer your questions. But the question submitted really was how to go out and fire a bad client. So in order to fire a bad client, in my opinion, what we did in my business at Callahan's Lawn Care was in our actual lawn care, I want to say contract or agreement, in the actual estimate document, we went out and built a area there of terms of service. And this terms of service was built for the consumer and the business. And what it did is it spelled out a cancellation period. So the cancellation period spelled out it was a 2-week written notice by either party, so the company or the customer, to cancel. And obviously, if the customer called and wanted to cancel for a legitimate reason, we would let them out immediately. But the idea is that we made it a two-way agreement. We took the risk out of it for the consumer, but it also gave us an out. And the out that it gave us is if we eventually worked with a client that was a bad fit, we had the ability to politely let them go and not injure the relationship as far as getting destroyed on social media or a review. But there really is two reasons why we did this. So the first reason is the obvious of the question being asked, if they're not a good fit and they're crazy, which some clients are, how do we get rid of them? So we built it into the contract agreement, 2-week written notice, and we can let them go. So traditionally what we would do is we would give them a written notice and then give them a call and let them know, hey, unfortunately, we need to part ways. And we were pretty honest about it, but obviously politically correct. But we would also give them a reference of several other contractors that we would recommend in the service area. So we didn't just cancel them and leave them high and dry. Now, the second part of this, where I think is a little bit interesting as well, is that when we would set that up in the lawn care estimate or contract, that it was a 2-week written notice for either party to cancel the agreement. This allowed us to go out just right pretty much after this video here, the next few weeks. We traditionally did the week of July 4th. That following week, we ran a job costing report. And that job costing report would allow us to go in there non-emotionally and actually list all several hundred lawn mowing customers and say, on average, if our goal is $55 per man hour, are we hitting that goal? And if we weren't hitting that goal, the report that we used would actually kick out property-specific pricing. So if your goal is $55 an hour, you need to raise the price per cut, say $2.07, whatever it was, but it was to the penny. And it was based on us using our mobiles in the field, clocking in and clocking out of the job. So based on the historical data on that yard, it would tell us what we needed to charge. So what we would do is send a written agreement, not a cancellation agreement, but a written contractual agreement that we needed to raise our price X amount of dollars per cut. And this is the reason being because we've been tracking the time and we're not hitting our goals and the property is underpriced. But that gave us an out to raise the price and still fit within the confines of that contract. So it wasn't exactly asked at the Callahan's Corner question of how do you get rid of a bad customer. I recommend putting that in your estimate and contract agreement, sending it in writing, and then give them a call and give them some different contractors they can contact. So that's if you're firing them. But in addition to that, you also want to have some verbiage in there to cover you so you can raise your prices mid-season when all the other contractors are too busy to return phone calls and do estimates. So if you did underprice a job, or maybe they added 15 trees in the front yard and your crew didn't tell you about it, and obviously the job was priced for no trees, so you've doubled or tripled the amount of weed whacking, edging, and blowing, we can account for that. So these are the things that I would recommend that we did in our business throughout the years to learn from things we weren't lucky enough to get right. So in your estimate and your contract, if you have one, contracts are hit and miss. There are some pros and cons. If you can get away with it in your market, I like a agreement that is non-contractual that runs 12 months a year that auto-renews. But in the estimate document and agreement, you want that clearly spelled out. It's a two-way cancellation with a 2-week notice is what we found is the appropriate time to make that work. And that allows you to raise your price mid-season or mid-rolling contract as well. So comments, questions, drop below. But that's how we tackled getting rid of bad customers. We literally just had the verbiage in our estimate or contract and mailed that out to them a 2-week notice with competitors that we would suggest that they shop to. And unfortunately, it just wasn't a good fit, and we couldn't meet their needs. And if we couldn't meet or exceed their service needs, we wanted to basically help them out and provide them with contractors that hopefully could. We were able to do that legally through the actual contract agreement that we put together in our estimate. And when we wanted to raise our prices, we had that ability as well. So comments, questions, drop them below. Callahan's Corner. You ask the questions. We answer them live right here on Facebook.